All right, so we have a representative from Michigan who's trying to impeach Donald Trump. Big picture, this impeachment will not last. Quite frankly, this video is probably going to get more attention than his impeachment of Donald Trump gets attention on Capitol Hill. Nonetheless, I think it's really important for everybody to understand exactly what he's talking about so the mystery is solved once and for all. So, what I'm going to do is debunk his 7 articles of impeachment one at a time. And kind of bear with me because I want to read some specifics from paper so you get to look at my shiny bald head occasionally as I read. But nonetheless, I just want to be accurate and let's just professionally debunk each one of these 7 articles of impeachment one at a time. So here we go with the first one. Take a listen.
Today, I introduced a resolution to impeach Donald J. Trump, outlining 7 articles of impeachment. Article 1. Obstruction of justice and abuse of executive power. From denying due process to unlawful deportations, Trump defied court orders.
All right, so this one's not going to hold teeth. What he's talking about is the Supreme Court's 9-0 decision that Mr. Garcia has to be brought back, and somehow President Trump is in violation of that. He's actually not, because while it was a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court left the administration room by using the word facilitate versus effectuate his return and deferring to the administration's foreign affairs authority. That's a big difference. They didn't demand that he be returned. They, in essence, deferred it to the foreign affairs. And the word choice matters. So absolutely not the case. He's wrong on that. All right, now listen to his second article of impeachment.
Article 2. Taking away Congress's power of the purse. Trump dismantled agencies and froze funds without permission from Congress.
All right, once again, let me read from this. Taking away Congress's power of the purse by dismantling agencies. The reality is the president does have the authority to do that. Just as he has the authority to create, he is permitted as president to divide, consolidate, abolish, or create agencies of the U.S. federal government by presidential directive. So once again, debunked. Let's listen to Article 3 of the impeachment.
Article 3. Abuse of trade powers and international aggression. He imposed damaging tariffs and threatened military invasions of our allies.
All right, this abuse of trade power, let's just put this one to bed right away. Here we go. Abuse of trade powers and international aggression. The president can impose tariffs as per, quote, while the U.S. Constitution gives Congress the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, the president does have some authority to impose tariffs, particularly under specific circumstances, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Debunked, once again, end quote. All right, let's listen to Article 4 of impeachment. Here we go.
Article 4. Violation of First Amendment rights. He has retaliated against journalists, attorneys, and critics for exercising their right to free speech.
All right, so somehow he thinks the president is denying people their First Amendment rights. This was going to be quick and easy. Absolutely not. I don't know what in the world this gentleman's talking about, but that is not the case. Completely debunked. Let's listen to the 5th article of impeachment. Here we go.
Article 5. Creation of an unlawful office establishing the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, and giving Elon Musk unconstitutional power over our government and personal data.
What he's talking about is DOGE. And I'm going to read from the paper again because the president does have the authority to create an entity like that. Take a listen. Several government agencies have been created by executive order. Examples include, here we go, Homeland Security Council, the Peace Corps, that was created by executive order in 1961, the Agency for International Development. Remember all that stuff with AID and shutting down AID? Well, they were created by executive order. The National Labor Relations Board was also established by executive order. So the president absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, not only has the power to create these agencies by executive order, but has been done in the past, my friend. On to the 6th and 7th articles of impeachment. Let's go with number 6 first. Here we go.
Article 6, bribery and corruption. He has dismissed criminal cases and solicited payments from foreign governments and coerced legal settlements for personal and political gain.
This one's really easy. What in the world is he talking about? Absolutely zero examples of bribery and corruption. If President Trump was guilty of that, then it would have stuck. And I know people are going to say, well, he was found guilty in a court in New York, right, by, Attorney General Letitia James, that judge. That whole process is beyond highly questionable and absolutely politically motivated. So we'll see what happens if that actually sticks. Let's go on to number 7.
Article 7, tyrannical overreach. Finally, and most importantly, he is attempting to consolidate unchecked power and erode the constitutional limits of the presidency. In this country, we have presidents, not kings. That's not just misconduct, it's impeachable misconduct. This isn't leadership, it's tyranny. If we let this stand, we are saying the president is above the law, that the United States Constitution is optional.
Tyrannical overreach. Acting like a king. This is, if he would just provide some facts about what he's talking about, then maybe this stuff would have more teeth. But just because you don't like what the president's doing does not mean you can accuse him of being a tyrannical leader or a king. Again, I know it's hard for him to understand, but a president is supposed to work and do things. He is a leader. Perhaps this gentleman from Michigan is used to somebody like Biden who was literally asleep at the wheel more often than he was awake. But the reality is an effective president, an effective leader is going to get out there and lead. That has nothing to do with tyranny. It's called leadership. And maybe this guy from Michigan needs to, as politely as I can say this, get a clue and take a clue from an actual leader. All right, as I said at the beginning, I think this video is probably going to get more attention than this gentleman will on Capitol Hill with these articles of impeachment. But nonetheless, I think it's extremely important that we understand what the heck he's talking about so we can effectively put this thing to rest. And hopefully I've been able to do that. So we'll wrap it up. Completely debunked. Articles of impeachment, all 7 of them, an absolute and total, quite frankly, unprofessional joke. Again, as politely as I could say it. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to see more like it, and know somebody who wants to get the facts on these 7 articles of impeachment, by all means, share it with them. And always, until next time, God bless. Love y'all.